Thank you.
With Tariq Walton, who has been leading our shape ups for the last 6 years. So can you give a round of applause? He is going to grad school. He's going to grad school, so we can call him Dr. Tariq, like we call him Dr. Lee. He can catch up.
Trying to catch up with Dr. Lee, that's all.
He can catch up. But do not despair. Hey, good to see you, Michael. Yes. So we have a couple special guests, so just stay with us. You will get to meet the new Tariq, who will be taking over, and then we have a special guest with DC paid family leave. So it's gonna be a good session. Be y'all lively selves, cause it's gonna be a good discussion, y'all. All right, thank you.
Did you tell them who you were? It's all right, I got it. So if you don't know, that's Ms. Charlene Anderson. She is the director of Starting With Today, which is an organization that has been sponsoring this event called The Shape Up for the past 6 years. We started, what, April? Was it April or March?
May.
It was May?
May.
May 2018, pre-pandemic. And of course, the microphone wants to act up. But yeah, so we've been doing this for a while now, and the focus has been mental health and wellness. So we talked about a lot of different things in here, but they've also talked about financial wherewithal. Let me see that the mic. This one is on. All right, let's see if this is any better. All right. Talked about a lot of different things in here over the years, but today, as I close out and pass the baton, one of the things I want to talk about is, well, I'll get to that. So one of the goals that I had, one, working in here with you guys, but overall working in the community, because most of my practice, I'm a couples therapist, most of my practice is working with black men, with individuals and with couples. And part of the conversation I'm always having is how to communicate better, how to communicate what you're feeling, your experiences, so that your mate is better aware of what's going on with you, so that you're not just all kind of walking blind. And one of the things I've been trying to do in here for the past 6 years is making sure that we're able to communicate more clearly, more effectively, being more emotionally intelligent, being more in touch with our feelings, so we can communicate what's going on with us. But the thing that I've been seeing happen, and not here necessarily, but overall, in the span of the 6 years that we've been doing this, culturally we become much more divisive. Black against white, black against Latino, white against Latino, men against women, and the online conversations I keep hearing that we're having in our own community is kind of troublesome. So I also have a podcast called Kings of the Heart. I deal with another couples therapist, another black male couples therapist, and very few of us. And we've been doing it also since 2018. And part of what we're trying to do is make sure that we're having conversations that are leading to the betterment of our relationships. We want to heal relationships. But that's not the conversations going on in the community right now. Everybody's talking about what everybody else is or isn't doing. Not taking accountability for themselves, but making sure that they're pointing out what everybody else is doing wrong. Taking the attention away from them. And all it's doing is creating more hurt, more division in our communities. So the disrespect level is high right now. It's so high right now. It's almost like we don't even like each other anymore. And so if my job has been to try to heal, then what are all these other people doing? They're trying to get attention. What can I say? What's the most outrageous thing I can say that's going to get me more hits, more views, more likes? I'm not about that. I want to make sure that we're working towards something. Not just fighting against something. We're working towards something. And so today's conversation I want to have is, how can we learn to respect and understand our ladies better? And have them understand and respect us better? This fighting, this infighting got to stop. We want healthier relationships. That's all I'm about, is trying to get healthier relationships. We see more and more fighting. Brothers calling women females as opposed to women or ladies. Women calling men all types of other stuff. That's not what we're going to do. We want to learn how to actually communicate better. So today's conversation is all about building that respect. Making sure that we're understanding each other better in a way that's bringing us closer together and not splitting us further apart. All right, everybody good with that? Yeah. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So Dr. Lee, again, thank you for having us in here, giving us this platform. in this location. It's a wonderful location to have these conversations. So, first thing I want to ask you guys. Does anybody have an opinion? And if you do, please share it. Does anybody have an opinion about some of these, because I know we're all on social media, some of these clips that you've been seeing around what women are saying that men are doing wrong? Any opinions? What are some of your thoughts from what you've been seeing? Yeah, I know you ain't gonna say nothing yet. You gotta wait for somebody else to say something before you jump in. So. Dr. Lee.
I keep hearing that men are taking too long to make a decision about marriage. That's what I keep hearing.
Okay.
I don't know if it's wrong or right.
Right. One of the things you hear online is that men are taking too long to make a commitment to either marry or just be in a relationship at all, or just marriage itself.
Just the marriage itself.
Marriage itself. Okay. All right. What else have we been hearing? What are some of the other negative things we've been hearing about around men and some of the stereotypes that have been coming forward?
That we're narcissists.
That we're narcissists. All right. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Do we know what a narcissist is? You want to break it down? You ready to break it down for us?
No.
Oh, okay. He's not going to break it down right now. We're talking. That's true. So instead of describing us as for our individual behaviors, it's easy to just label black men as being narcissists. You know, that we're constantly gaslighting our women. This guy. All right, what are some of the other things we've been hearing? What about flipping? What are some of the things that we're hearing that are reflecting some of the more negative behavior of the black women in our community? That men need to pay for everything. Yeah. Right? Right. That's a big one. That's one you keep seeing, like a lot of people saying, you know, where's this expectation coming that men pay for everything? And what are you doing that you're bringing to the table where a man would want to pay for everything? So that's part of the conversation we're having too. Yeah, right? Sleeping with you is going to be enough, right?
Yeah.
Not like they can get that for anybody else, you know, just that one person's going to provide enough. Exactly. What else? So I know you got another one. just sitting there like, what else? What are some of the other niggas?
A man has to be perfect, and a woman can be under construction, so to speak. Like a man can't be flawed.
Work in progress, right?
Can't be work in progress. You got to be all together. You got to be all together.
Before you even start.
Exactly.
Right. What else? Any Kevin Samuel fans in here?
Oh man.
A man can't be emotionally expressive, but must be emotionally understanding of a woman.
Oh, that's a good one. Can't. That's a real good one, right? So we shouldn't open up ourselves, which is the total opposite of what we've been talking about it here. But you gotta be ready to hear everything that they have to say, right? What else? What else? Okay, so tell me this. What has been happening over these past 6, 7, 8 years that this has become the majority of the conversations that people are having? Or am I wrong? Are there more conversations that are happening out there that are taking up the same kind of attention as these more negative ones? But what's been happening? Why are we becoming so divided? Podcast, right? Right? Everybody has a voice now. Everybody has a mic. Right? All these people who need to be in therapy are doing a lot of talking right now and not being checked. There's no gatekeepers anymore. Remember we used to complain about gatekeepers, especially when it came to music? Yeah. And how it stopped us from being able to hear some of the better people out there because it didn't fit into the larger agenda. Now everybody can put out whatever they want to. So now we're flooded with stuff that don't need to be out there, including conversations, right? So everyone has a platform right now. Everyone's looking for a quick way to blow up. And what's the quickest way to blow up?
1995 podcast.
But be as negative as possible, right?
Half of these people don't even believe in what they're talking about. They just talking about it just to get a reaction. You know what I'm saying? That people just they sheep. They don't want to know. And there's no leaders anymore. Everybody want to be a follower. Everybody want to be the next person. Don't nobody want to be the original self. Right?
100% correct. Everybody just trying to get a hit. Everybody just trying to get a like. Not thinking about the consequences of it. Not worrying about the consequences. They just want the attention. Because what comes with the attention? Maybe a little fame, maybe a little bit of extra money, right? A step to something bigger. Right? We've seen the patterns. Let me get on a reality show. Let me act a fool, and maybe I'll get my own show. Or at least I get speaking engagements. So now I'm putting more madness out there. Right? Just to stay popular. And so this is a constant thing that we're seeing online, in the media, this negativity, because that's what's selling. We used to talk about sex sales, not like it used to. Why? Because now it's about what's the worst thing that you can say about somebody else that everybody else can believe. And that's not helping us. So let's turn it around. Let's get away from negativity for a little while. And let's talk about what it is that we really need as men. We'll just start there. As black men, we need to heal, right?
And we need to take accountability.
So that's two different sides of the coin, right? Same coin.
It's actually the same thing. It's actually the same thing, man. So like, instead of pointing the finger, because I was told that, man, when you point the finger, you got 3 more fingers pointing back at you, right? So if I deal with what's going on with me, it makes me better equipped to deal with what's going on with her. It makes me better equipped with what's going on with you. It makes me better equipped with what's going on in the street. You know what I'm saying? So like, I gotta be accountable for my own actions. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it started at. It started at home. It don't start on the TV. It don't start on the podcast, not on the computer. It starts at home. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a responsibility to these children out here. You know what I'm saying? And that's us as black men. I ain't talking about no other man. You know what I'm saying? We the crown of creation. You know what I'm saying? So it starts with us. We gotta be accountable. And we gotta heal. You know what I'm saying? And then we gotta admit, especially to our women, that we hurt. You know what I'm saying? Communicate.
He said, "Oh, we done. We're done. This wraps it all up right there." You know, but he's 100% correct. We definitely have to heal, but that healing starts with accountability. That starts with reflecting. We have to see what we're doing, right? My wife and I, and let me shout out my wife Shan for being here. Thank you, baby, for coming out tonight, or today, this afternoon, this morning, whatever this is. But yeah, we need to be able to take responsibility for the things that we're doing. Take accountability.
We do the same.
So when someone brings to our attention some of our flaws, some of the things that we might be doing wrong, we are so quick, we've talked about this before, we are so quick to deflect, to deny, to turn around on somebody else. Well, you do it too, right? How you try to hold me accountable? You're being a hypocrite. You're not holding yourself accountable. And so with that going on constantly, we're not reflecting on ourselves. We're not thinking about what we're doing, we need to be doing better. And without doing that, we can't even take the first steps towards healing. So you're not being reflective. You don't even know what's going on with you sometimes. You know you're hurting. You know you don't want to be in pain no more. But at the same time, you're not looking at what's really going on with you, the roots of some of that pain. And in order to do that, you got to reflect. What do I mean by reflect? I'm all about definition. I want to make sure we're all on the same page with things, right? So when I say reflect, what does it mean to reflect? Think about what? Okay, remembering your own history, your own behaviors, right? So it's going back and looking at yourself. We got mirrors all around here. What do? They reflect our image. So look in the mirror, look at yourself. See you for who you really are. Not just who you want to be, not who you tell the world you are, not who you put out there. Again, going back to social media. So quick to put stuff out there that's not true or very minimal in your life and blow it up to try and look better. Again, we want more likes. You come back to the same thing. We just want more likes. But it's not reflecting reality. That's reality right there. Look in that mirror. See within yourself look at yourself for what's going on right now. Not how you wanted to be, but look at what was and where you are right now. That's reflective, right? So we gotta reflect. So that's one of the first steps towards healing. But we need room to heal. And so when you're in a relationship where you're not feeling safe, we talked about emotional safety in here and the need to feel safe with your mate, to be able to communicate clearly and effectively what you're actually experiencing. Otherwise, there will be no understanding. So you need that room to be able to have those conversations. Why is it that we struggle with feeling safe in our relationships? Why do we struggle with being able to communicate with our mates what's going on? Why don't we feel safe?
I think there's a number of reasons, right? So I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And it's something I had to check myself on, when a kid falls down, the first thing a lot of adults tell them to do is stop crying, be quiet. So as men, we're often told at a young age, be quiet, toughen up. So then we hear that narrative all throughout our lives, and then when we become adults, it's, why can't you just be honest with me? Why can't you be open with me? But we've done the exact opposite our entire lives. Some of us, not all of us, but from a societal standpoint, we have. So when it's time to kind of step up into our relationship or show up in that way, we haven't had enough practice to be, fluent in it yet. So a lot of us, quiet. I've definitely been that person. I'm just not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna be quiet. And Bob was saying that's like an easy way to kind of get through it. So.
Yeah. One of the earlier conversations we had back here, we can go right back to 2018 on this one. And I remember because I referred to it a lot in my sessions, particularly Dr. Lee. I talked about, we brought up around the stereotype about black men being angry, right? And I said it right now, I said, why do we have that stereotype? And everyone in here just said, because we are angry, right? That was the conversation, that's where we started. But then we got into a whole thing around being able to communicate the different feelings we're experiencing. Because a lot of times, the reason why we're looked at as being angry is because we're not communicating all the individual feelings, all the primary feelings that we're experiencing. And so instead, we come off as angry because, again, we're not communicating, we're showing, we're demonstrating through our actions and through our expression the anger that we feel. Right? So we're not actually talking about it verbally, we're not verbalizing it. And that's why I refer back to Dr. Lee, because when we talked about being able to tell the difference between being angry and being disappointed, he's like, yeah, you know what, I was really disappointed at the time. And he said it over and over again. That helped to change the way he thinks around how he communicates what he feels. But we were having that conversation in here, which is generally a safe space. But when you go home, if you believe that you're going to be judged by your mate for sharing what you're going to share, or not heard or not understood, you're not going to. We talked about it here that same day. Historically, black men have never had a safe space to share with their feelings. Whether it's during the Middle Passage on our way over here, or in the fields as enslaved people, all the way up into today, all the way through the war on drugs. We've never had a safe space other than places like this, and sometimes churches, to be able to communicate what we're really feeling. And so we never really learned how to. We never learned the lingo, the words, the emotion, not just emotional intelligence, because we're very emotionally intelligent people. We can sense violence in a second and danger in a second. So we're very intelligent when it comes to our environment. But being able to communicate, literacy, we've always struggled with. So one of the things we've been trying to do in here for the past 6 years is expand our literacy. But more than anything, being able to tell our mates, look it, I don't feel emotionally safe in being able to tell you what's going on. You want to know what's going on with me? You want to understand me better? I have to feel safe to be able to do it. So we have to find those environments. We have to create those environments sometimes at home. Which means then our mates also have to be reflective. They also have to be able to look at themselves and say, oh, what am I doing that makes my mate not feel safe to communicate how they're feeling? Even though I'm asking them constantly how they feel. So one of the things that we have to continue to work on is being able to create that safe space. Without that safe space, again, there is no understanding. Without that understanding, there's constant misunderstanding. With that constant misunderstanding, there's constant disrespect. I don't understand what you're going through. So I'm not going to respect what you're doing or what you're saying because it doesn't make sense to me. We talked about respecting here as well. And I'll tell you this for a fact. When I'm in session with my clients and I have this conversation and I'm trying to get them to define things, people change the definition for respect constantly. They have different definitions for it. So how do we define? How do we want to define it in here? How do we define respect? Right here in these barbershop. What's the definition for respect? What we got? Respect. We all ask for it. Love. We all demand it. We all want it. How do we not have a definition for it? You said love, showing love. Appreciation. Appreciation of self. Okay. What else?
Well-mannered.
Well-mannered.
Treating others the way you want to be treated.
Right. So, yep. Come on, Ty.
So I like the treating others the way they you want to be treated, but not everybody want to be treated the same way, right? Like we start hollering at me, and we ain't really talking about nothing for real. You know what I mean? So it's, hey, if I communicate what my preference is, and then you can translate that, we can have a conversation or compromise, so we both can be heard. That's what I call respect.
Mutual understanding.
Mutual understanding, right? Mm-hmm. How can you have respect without understanding? Right. I want you to know what's going on with me because, I mean, that's part of being in a healthy relationship. In order to have that emotional connection with someone, you have to be able to connect emotionally, which means sharing those emotions, being vulnerable, opening up to somebody. And that person being able to turn around and validate your experience. Be able to sit there and say, oh, I may not have gone through that same thing, but from your perspective, based on your experiences, I understand why you may feel that. Right? There has to be room for that. And that's how you build that sense of understanding. That's how you build that respect. The respect is rooted in understanding. Respect is also rooted in trust. So when we talk about emotional safety, I have to trust you to create that space for me. If I don't trust you, I'm not going to open up to you. So it's all rooted in those same things. So we're begging and demanding for respect. One of the things that I hear people often say around, especially black men around respect, they confuse respect with obedience. And control, right? And so if I say, I need you to respect me, that means I need you to do everything I say to do, or you're not showing me respect. I need you to I need you to do exactly what I say. If you're not doing as I say or as I ask, then you're not showing me the proper respect. That's not respect. Again, that's called obedience. And there's no room for that in a relationship because you guys have to be able to have your own sensibilities and decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do. There may be consequences for that, but there can't be demands for you to do as I say do. So that's not what respect is. Respect is built in that understanding and that trust. So, what is it do you think our sisters need from us? If we're saying that we need to be understood, we need time to heal, room to heal, and to be accountable. What is it our sisters need from us?
Less judgment.
Less judgment? What do you mean by that? Break that down.
We tend to be very critical of the black woman experience and very much so kind of disconnected with, we judge them very critically by what they do with their own bodies, what they do with their own lives, what they do with their own thoughts. We take the whole head of the household thing to a T with a fine, to comb or whatever they call it. I had to use a comb a year, so. Only right there. But less judgment can provide that freedom because that's the same thing we want. So I often give an example of when we go into white spaces or we go into places where the police are around and we don't want to be judged for our hoodie and we don't want to feel like we examined, think about that in the reverse of that while we're judging them by what they wearing, what they move in and all of that and their acts of freedom. And as us, we being in control as far as when it comes to the laws of this country, when you think about it, there hasn't been any type of law that is against me being a man. But there's plenty of laws that are against them being women.
Excellent point, right? So it is that judgment. It's that sense of judgment. Yeah. Our sisters are constantly asking for us to be less judgmental and more understanding. Again, it's hard to be understanding when you are being judgmental. And it's the same thing for us. When we talk about create that safe space, that means we want compassion, not judgment. But that's what our sisters are begging for. More compassion, less judgment, more understanding, more care. What does that mean? What does it mean to actually demonstrate care for your mate? Listening. Is it attention? Attentively. I'm listening attentively. What else?
Keeping your word.
Second. My question was, what does it mean to care for your mate? Listening attentively. Nurturing. So be nurturing, right? Okay. What does that mean? What does it mean to nurture?
Well, I guess in today's terms, it probably be like have her back in all situations. Okay.
Yeah, man, nurturing. You got something? You got something? You got something? Thank you. That helps too. So yeah, be nurturing.
Can I talk real quick on nurturing? Go ahead, Dr. Lee. I had an epiphany recently. My parents both came to town, and we typically attribute like being nurturing to women, but my dad is nurturing our family.
Right.
He is. My mom is a disciplinarian. My dad is a nurturer. He cooks for us. He tends to our rooms. He's the most emotional, soft landing space for all of us in our family, me and my mom. And I really don't think. I just had this epiphany. I'm 42, and I've been around my whole life, but I just realized that he is the nurturing role, and I don't think it would even cross my mind as being open, as like that was an option for fathers to be, even with my mom in the house, like he is the emotional soft landing place for us, and I think it's beautiful.
Which is common in a lot of families.
Yeah.
But it's not looked at that way.
It's not looked at.
I think what you about to say?
I think if you ask your mate, what could I do better for the both of us that would make the relationship better? Or what is it that I'm not doing that you think would be more helpful? I think
that's important. Because we can sit up here all day and make assumptions, hypothesize what it is that our mates need. Why don't we ask the question? What gets in the way of us actually saying to our mates, yo, what can I be doing better?
Fear.
What more do you need? Why fear?
Because you'll be held accountable.
That's my baby right there. That girl, that's my man. That girl bring it. But yeah, that accountability. We don't want to be held accountable because that means we actually have to do something different than we're already doing, and a lot of us don't want to do that. Thank you for saying that. Because one of the things I wanted to bring up in this conversation is that we're not enemies. I can't tell you how often we use language of warfare when it comes to relationships. Right? And so, yeah, that sense of pride. I don't want to feel like I'm losing. I hear that all the time. Right? Well, if I admit she's right, then, basically I'm losing something here. You ain't losing nothing. You're gaining understanding. And changes can happen when you actually feel better. But if you don't want to feel better, well, keep doing what you're doing. Oh, but you're in pain. You're hurting. Well, guess what? Anywhere you go see a doctor, You're gonna have to change certain behaviors in order to feel better. And part of that is changing what you're doing. How you're treating other people, particularly your mate. And that whole accountability thing is real. The major thing, and we're gonna get into this, we have some things here for us to look at. Thank you. The main thing when it comes to relationships that I work on the most when people walk my door, outside of having a common understanding and definition of what it means to be in a healthy relationship, which is all about that support. One of the main things I work on is effort. Making sure that you understand that you can't just show up in your relationship just as you are and do whatever you want to do. You gotta put effort in. Relationships take work. They take hard work. Relationships never feel hard, but they take hard work. They take that effort. They take that intention. Again, you're not just doing what you want to do, but recognize the person you're with. You can't treat everybody the same way. If you say, well, I know women, you don't know that woman. If you say, I know men, you don't know that man. So you have to do things that are specific and intentional for that person, not just what you've always done. Well, it worked with this other person. Well, if it did, you still be with them. You're over here now. So you have to cater what you're doing. So when we're talking about care is also about catering to that person's needs and wants. Not just what you think they do, because you're making these assumptions based off your past experiences, but based off of what this person is communicating to you what they need and want. So, we have our inventory here that we have every session. And so when you look at this, these 11 questions, and I go through these, I want you to judge yourself on here. 0 to 10, 0 being the lowest and least like you, 10 being the most like you. So I ask these questions, tell me, are you a 1, 7, 8, 10, wherever you are? But I want to hear from you guys how you see yourself. We're going to reflect in the moment. All right. First question. Number 1. I have a good understanding of what my mate wants and needs. 0 to 10, where are you at? I have a good understanding of what my mate wants and needs. Got a 7 right here? What else? Who else? Give me some numbers here. Got 10? Dr. Lee asked that question. He asked that question. That don't mean you're doing everything. Doesn't mean you know, right? Exactly. I understand what it is. Now I'm working towards doing more. What else? Give me some other numbers.
8.
8? We got an 8 over here? Okay. My wife is right here, so I'm not going to say my numbers.
Go ahead, baby. Say your number.
It's 10. I know what you need. I know what you need. I know what you need. More than I'm doing. This is another conversation. But I know what you need. All right, what about number 2? I generally fulfill my mate's wants and needs. 0 to 10. I generally fulfill. Not saying that you do everything, but overall, you're making an effort. You're being intentional. You understand what she wants and needs. 0 to 10.
6.
6? Okay. There you go. There's a little bit more room for more work. You got a 6 over here, Dr. You said 6? You got a 4? You're a 4? So you got some more work to do. You got to make more of an effort, right? And that's only if you want to have a healthy relationship. Right? If you want to have a healthy relationship, you got to do the work.
I think, real quick, there's a new barber, Q. He has some thoughts around this. You mind going back there? I did.
She put you on blast. So she wants to know if you're doing the work. What you got?
That's not what he was going to say. But.
So I was basically telling her, everything that you said is valid. I've learned from following different psychologists on Instagram, YouTube videos. Since I have had my son, he's about to be 4 in January. What I will say is, it takes a certain level of maturity for that person to match you. And if they're not ready, you can literally drive yourself insane trying. So you also have to know when to detach. You know what I mean? Because everything you saying is perfectly, validate their feelings. Make sure you hear them. Stop the name calling. Just stop treating them. And like you said, bringing war tactics in the home, right? I had talked about that myself, and it just gets to a point where you stop, you learn your ways, and you reflect. But if your partner don't match you, sometimes you gotta let it go.
To that point, I tell my clients all the time, my job is not, if you come in to see me as a couples therapist, right? If you come in for couples therapy, my job is not to keep you guys together. My job, if you decide that you want to work on your relationship, is to give you the tools to keep yourselves together. But I ain't gonna lie. I have a lot of people who come to me and they realize, oh, this is not right for me. So I got a lot of divorces. I got a lot of people who repair their relationships through the work that we do. And then I have people who decide, okay, we can't be together. And some of them stay on it for individual therapy because they realize what they need to work on for themselves. Right? But just because you made that commitment doesn't mean you need to stay. Contracts are broken all the time. Now, while you're committed, stick with the commitment. Do the work that you need to do. But when you realize this was a bad deal and we are not meant to be together, don't live your life in misery. Make the decision, either do the work or make the decision to let each other go so that you can both be happy. Don't live in misery. So thank you for sharing that. All right, number 3. I have a good understanding of what women in general want and need. How many of y'all know women? Got 0 back there. Got 0. You said they don't even know what they want? Hold on. Here we go. Break it down.
It's like a woman that say one thing, but in reality, she mean another. So it's like it be a test.
Wow.
Like, and she trying to figure out like if you know how to read between the lines or not. And if you don't, then she gonna be upset because you ain't get it. You missed it in her eyes. So it's like I would say a 0. Like you trying to learn them more every day and understand day by day because they mind change every day. So it's a 0.
But that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of reflecting. You have to figure out for yourself what you need first, right? So you can't go in assuming that you know, like I said earlier. You may have known one person, but you can't translate that to everybody because everybody's different and people change. What they need changes. And that goes back to relationships and marriages too. You can be together for 20 years, 30 years. But you know what? Through that entire time, people are evolving, changing, growing. So what their needs and wants may have been 20, 30 years ago can be completely different now. And you may not be the right person for that.
That's a harsh reality.
I've been blessed to have been married for 40 years. Believe me.
Woo!
I'm telling you.
Come on. Give it up.
And I'm gonna tell you, it ain't all me. And I have to say this because I'm not gonna brag on myself or her. But the thing is, being able to listen to one another. And the one element that I will say, and I'm not sure this is for everybody, but you have to have that spirituality in it. Because I will say this: it's God that set up the institution of marriage, man didn't make it. Okay, so if He set it up, then the best way for me to know is to go by His is to listen to His instruction, because I can mess things up. But on top of that, I also want to say, listening to women, like the other gentleman said, you think you know it all, but you don't. And I would say, this is probably not true with everyone, but there are times when I'm speaking with my wife, and I would say this about her. Most guys, I would think, we just want the facts, just the facts, man. And my wife had a tendency to go and break it down to every level.
Get out of here. Let me do that.
develop listening because, man, I have had times when I'm like, I'm counting this little guy over here, just counting and like, what is she going to get to? And I know what she's going to say. And then she finally knows, it's like, and to yourself, you say, why does she take the long way? But women's makeup is different from ours. So,
I know men who do the same thing, though. I know men who do the same thing. You know, it's really about how you process information, right? And so for some people, they process information better by speaking it out.
Yeah,
And sometimes
that is
they
true.
haven't thought about it, but they want to say it, and so they say everything.
Yeah.
Hoping that you'll be able to follow them.
They're saying everything to get to that point.
Right.
But they want to give you all, the thing is, what they're going to say is at the end of the road, but they give you all the bumps and all you want to do is just move right. But I think that's what I've experienced in those 40 years, man. It's funny.
So let me say something about that. 'Cause I do this with my clients too. I tell people, you have to be more concise in what you're sharing because understand that you can be wearing your mate out by that. It can be a mate turn. So when you talk about what you want and need, you may need to be more concise and communicate that. But at the same time, you do need to make yourself available to hear what they're saying, right? I also tell them all the time, look, you communicate all this information like it's interesting. Sometimes it ain't, right? And so be aware that you're expecting somebody. I'm a therapist, right? And so my job is to follow people's conversations all day long. But everyone's not trained that way. And so you're going through these meandering conversations, all these different words, everyone can't follow you. And they shouldn't be expected to. So there needs to be a meet in the middle somewhere. Yeah, be more attentive in how you're listening. But at the same time, be attentive in how you communicate. Right? Somebody else said something. Yeah, come on, man.
I was saying, I hope, because I'm about to get married today.
Oh, man. Congratulations.
She gave me an ultimatum. Though.
Choose your next words. Choose your next words. Wisely.
So, I've been with her since 2005.
Okay.
And had 5 girls. Just had the boy July 11th. So, 5 girls, 1 boy. So I just think, I'm not going anywhere. I've been with her for so long. I think we're already married. We're just doing it in front of God. So.
Congrats, man.
Congratulations. How do you feel about that? Are you in a good space about it?
I mean, it is what it is.
I'm gonna give you my card, man. Yeah.
How you doing? I think that's a good example that comes up a lot of times in relationships. I'll speak for myself. Sometimes the disconnect between what I think needs to be done and what's really being asked of me. She didn't necessarily ask me in some moments to fix something. She asked me how I feel about something. It's trying to connect with me on different levels. So sometimes in these conversations, as men, I know for myself, I'm thinking about, all right, what needs to get done? You're telling me a whole lot of stuff. What do we need to do to make this thing work? She said, how do you feel? And sometimes I'm not connecting with that.
Yeah, people are always looking for your answers, right? They just want your ear. They just want, again, they just may be processing information. So they don't need you to answer anything for them. They just need you to listen, right? They're just trying to get it out. So, all right, thank you. All right, let's go. Keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you. So number 4, my mate has a good understanding of my wants and needs. 0 to 10. How many of y'all believe that? My mate has a good understanding of my wants and needs. So where you at? So 10? You're a 10 too? See, that's good communication right there. He's at a 10 of her understanding needs, and she's at a 10. So they're communicating. We'll get to the next question in a second. So 0 to 10, where we at? How many of you guys believe your mate actually understands what you want and need? You got 0 to 10? 10, got a 10 right here. All right. And remember, the only way anyone can understand what you want and need is when you communicate. Like Ty said, people have these expectations of you to be able to figure it out on your own. But they should know. Why should they know? How are they going to know unless you tell them specifically? Well, anybody should know. No, that's not the way it works. We all have different experiences. We all have different expectations. You have to be able to inform people of what it is that you need and want, which means you need to know first. Again, going back to reflect.
And to Todd's point, like, it can change, right? I think we all have the room to evolve, to change, you know. I think that's a good thing, and making space for that, you know, I think is really important. Especially for like people I know I have when I go home and people haven't seen me in a year or two, they like hold me to like whatever, you know, ideas or whatever they thought I liked as a kid. And it's like, I'm a grown, really grown person now. Those things might not hold true anymore. And so the same thing I think in relationships, friendships, business partnerships, all of those things, like that check-in is so important.
Even in the bedroom, I don't want to get too deep because we got kids in here, children in here, but even in the bedroom, over time, things change. Parts that used to be sensitive may not be as sensitive anymore. Or other parts might have heightened sense, right? So you have to evolve. You can't keep doing the same thing you've been doing all these years. You might have to change up there too. Because people grow, they evolve, they change. Number 5, my mate generally fulfills my wants and needs. Now, I got a lot of people come to see me who are unfulfilled in the relationships, obviously. So how are we doing that? 0 to 10. Do our mates fulfill our needs? If we are communicating them effectively, if we're communicating our wants and needs, are they actually making an effort to do that, to fulfill them? You said no? So they can't? Oh, what you said they can't? You gotta break that.
I agree with you, bro.
But you said they can't sometimes, right? Which is a very important point to make, because sometimes we have to be very honest about our capabilities. We have to also be very aware of what our limitations are. And then on top of that, also be very clear of what we do and don't want to do. And sometimes, you know what, there's certain things we may just not want to do. Be honest about it. So that may be a place where your mate has to accept that you may not want to do that. Or there might be a breaking point. So being aware of that, communicating very effectively around what you may not want to do in terms of fulfilling other people's wants and needs. Number 6, I directly communicate my wants and needs with my mate. So we're talking about people struggling to fulfill your wants and needs. Are you communicating effectively? 0 to 10. How are we doing our communication?
10.
10? Uh-huh. Another 10.
7.
7? All right. Like that honesty. What else? 9.
Now.
See, growth.
Over the years.
That's that growth. That's that growth, right? Yeah.
I appreciate like people knowing now. It's like even in friendships and relationships, it's like I can communicate exactly what I want, and it's up to them to decide. But I think the practice of saying, articulating, and knowing what I want and what it needs to look like, having that language has been important. But I think to his point right there, it's like sometimes they can't. I think I wrestle now saying, who is someone else? What part is someone else's job, and what part is my job to like make sure I'm fulfilled? You know, I think I'm like 80% it's on me to like feel fulfilled, like in my life.
I have a frustrating 8. A frustrating 8.
A frustrating 8?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
A frustrating 8 because I know exactly what to communicate and what my issue is, because 1, my personality, 2, because of the work I've done on myself. So what gets frustrating, I'm communicating exactly what my likes and my dislikes are. And then you have someone in front of you who is trying to tell you what maybe is this. They're like, oh, you're upset because it's raining. I'm like, I did not mention rain, right? I said my knee hurt. And you're like, yeah, it is flooding. My knee hurt, right? And so it becomes frustrating because I'm very much so understanding. And I don't mind being asked questions like, oh, are you really talking about that? That's fine. But if I tell you, inform you twice and 3 times, I'm pretty aware of what my dislike is. And if I fail at that communication, I withdraw, but please don't try to tell me what it is. And that's why I say it's a frustrating 8.
Yeah, we call that mind reading. You know, we had a conversation before around these different unhealthy thinking habits that we do that contribute to the way that we feel. That get in the way of us being more clear in our realities, right? And one of those things is that mind reading, thinking that we know better what someone's saying than they do, right? So a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of miscommunication comes from that as well. And so in order for you to actually fulfill the needs and wants of somebody else, you have to understand what they're talking about. Again, have shared definitions. If you're trying to get through life with somebody and you're communicating over and over again all these different ideas and they're not getting it, guess what? Y'all may understand it differently. So be clear about what that thing is. You have to have shared definitions. All right. Number 7. Love this one. I express appreciation for the wants and needs my mate fulfills. So if they're actually doing the work, if they're actually putting in the effort, if they're being intentional about doing the things that you're asking for, do you express appreciation when it happens? Or do you just take it for granted? 0 to 10. I actually express appreciation when my mate does fulfill my wants and needs.
8 now.
8? 10? 10? Okay.
2008.
10? There you go. You have to express that appreciation. Because the other side of that is the next one. I tend to express criticism to my mate for not doing enough to fulfill my wants and needs. So a lot of us may not express appreciation, but we're quick to criticize. 0 to 10. How many of us are quick to criticize when we're not getting our needs and wants fulfilled by our mate? The ones that they can do. That's not on us. 4?
Let's say a 3, because I work in trends. If it happens 3 times, then I'll talk about it. Depending on what it is. Now, if it's money related, that's probably a 1. We got to fix that quick. But I tend to go with trends. So it's not. So I'm checking my own emotions first, and not just jumping the last shot.
Right. But you know what's interesting about that? A lot of times when people are jumping on you immediately, it may not have anything to do with you, right? It may have to be do with their own history. So they're being triggered. We talked about triggers before, right? So they're being triggered by your behavior that you might have only done this one time, but it reminds them of something that's happened before. And so they're responding in excess of this situation, but it reflects all those past hurts with the same kind of behavior, right? But yeah, you're right. Make sure that you're not just getting on somebody's case and criticizing them for something they did, especially if they only did one time. But if it bothers you, even if it happens one time, just talk about it to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But if you're not communicating what's bothering you, you can't expect somebody just to stop. But that should not be the only thing you're doing. There has to be a balance. So expressing the appreciation as well as, and not necessarily the criticism, not necessarily the judgment, but just making them aware of the things that's bothering you. Like, you don't have to criticize them for it, but you do want to make them aware. Not blame them, but just raise their awareness around it. Now this question is a little bit different than the last one. The other question was, oh man, watch that microphone, huh? I get it, I'm the same way. One was, I tend to express my criticism to my mate. This one is, I tend to express criticism of my mate for not doing enough to fulfill my wants and needs. The difference being, one is communicating to them, the other one is talking to everybody else about it.
Terrible.
0 to 10.
Terrible.
How many of us are communicating to everybody else but not talking to our mate around what's bothering us in our relationships? 0 to 10. 5. Bring it to the barbershop. 0 to 10. All right, so you gotta repeat that. We record, so you gotta repeat that one.
I think it's a 5 because it's like, when you talk to your friends or your coworkers, it's like a safe place. But it's like, if you talk to your girl about it, if she don't understand what you're saying or she feel attacked, she just gonna yell at you. Like, so it's gonna go from you trying to express yourself to an argument and you having to defend how you feel versus you being able to just express it.
Exactly. We already talked about the emotional safety piece. So if you're not feeling emotionally safe with your mate to be able to communicate how you feel or what's happening, more than likely you are talking to somebody. And it's not going to be them. But again, that's why you have to create that safe space at home. One, by being the person that's making it safe for the other person, but then talking to them about not feeling safe. That's one thing I have to do with a lot of my individual clients when it comes to situations that they're dealing with at home. Talk about, don't just jump into what's going on. Talk about emotional safety. I don't feel emotionally safe. This is how we can do it. Now we can talk about what's actually happened. But without that foundation, there'll be a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of hurt feelings, and again, a lot of deflection. So you have to have that foundation of safety first. Otherwise, all you're going to do is keep turning to other people and ain't nothing going to change at home. All right, as we're winding down, number 10, I don't mind being held accountable when I don't do enough to fulfill my mate's wants and needs. I don't mind being held accountable. Meaning, if it's not happening, I should know so that I can do something different. I don't mind being held accountable for not fulfilling my mate's wants and needs. 0 to 10.
10.
10? Most of 10s in here? 9? What do you mean?
Why would I not mind about how she feels?
Right. That's the whole point. So you don't mind being held accountable for that, right?
I don't really want to be in a relationship if you don't mind.
But that's the whole point about it. People aren't worried about anybody else in their relationships. They're worried about themselves and only themselves. And so they don't necessarily want to be held accountable because, again, like we said earlier, people don't necessarily want to do the work. They just want to show up. They just want to show up.
Waste of time.
Right? But Dr. Lee, if they didn't do that, I wouldn't have a job. Right? They have to go somewhere to talk about this, figure it out. But overall, 10, right? We want to be held accountable. We need to be held accountable. If we want to maintain a healthy relationship, you have to be accountable. So if you can't hold yourself accountable, you better make room for your mate to do it. And then finally, number 11. My mate struggles to be held accountable for not doing enough to fulfill my wants and needs. Let's go back to what Ty was saying. My mate struggles to be held accountable. So we're not talking about you being held accountable. You may say, hey, okay, I recognize what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. Tell me what I'm doing and not doing, and I'll make changes. But sometimes our mates don't want to hear that. See, 10. I knew that would come from back there.
Women hate to be held accountable. They don't want to be held accountable for anything.
Not just women, it's everybody. Again, we're trying not to divide here. We're not trying to divide. We want to make it clear that a lot of people have a hard time. But is it just the women that is it just the women that you're deciding to be with? All right, so we didn't have a chance to talk about that today, about discernment, how we decide who to be with. We need to make better choices around some of the people that we decide to be with, right? Right? Okay, that's good.
I'm going to say right, but I'm going to also say that people are very good at creating a facade. You could be with someone and think that you know that person, and 6 months down the line, a brand new person come out of nowhere once y'all start to live with each other. So I feel like that's a right and wrong thing to say. Because it's like people can hide who they are for a very long time. So I can't say that's right. I can't say that's right.
Hold on. How fast you moving on?
How fast you moving in, Ty?
Right, 6 months.
People move fast. The problem is so around 6 months.
Man, Rick got to get paid.
So at this time,
Right. I'm gonna say right now, that's a whole another conversation when I have with my same-sex couples that come in to see me. Yo, slow down. You gotta slow down. You're moving way too fast, and you end up in a situation that you're gonna regret because you haven't taken the time to allow the person's facade to fall down. Right? That takes time. That takes time. But anyway, look it. I have to finish up my portion of this. I want to thank you guys for all the years of love and creating the space for me to come in and talk. I really, really appreciate it. Charlene, thank you so much for creating this platform and giving me the opportunity to come in here and talk and do my thing. I want to thank the board for starting with today for being here and being supportive for these past 6 years for me. Got to thank the barbers. Got to thank Dr. Lee for, just for being here, bringing the people in here to talk, making sure that you're communicating too and talk about things that go on with you and sharing. Dr. Lee, again, much love, brother. I really appreciate, what you've been doing here. And I appreciate the growth you've had in the time that we've been here. I appreciate you appreciate me. But thank you guys so much. I want to express appreciation to my wife for coming out and supporting and always making sure that I get out the house on time to be here to see you guys on Saturday mornings. So thank you guys again. Love you all. And I'm going to pass the mic for the final time.
All right. And thank you so much for everything, Tariq. So a good thing about social media is I read a post around that men don't get flowers until they die. And I think that's the saddest thing ever. So we are giving you some roses and starting with today goodie bag as a very small token for all that you've done for us. It's been a pleasure just creating with you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going from idea to execution time after time again and bringing excellence and love into this community space. We are all better. Because of what you have poured. This has been a beautiful learning space. Again, thank you to Dr. Lee. Thank you to Aaron for being the first one to see the vision and say yes. And so I'm really excited for you. Really excited for this next chapter. But bittersweet, of course, because you have poured so much into starting with today. So, but thank you very much. Thank you, Shan, for letting us borrow every Saturday, once a month. Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited. Keep us posted. For sure. You always have a home here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. So I want to have the new Tariq. His name is Taiwan. He goes by Ty as well. So Ty the barber and Ty therapist. He is from the area, I believe. Virginia. I'm gonna let him get me because I didn't really read the bio. Y'all was doing a lot. But I want him to give a closing remarks, and then we'll have DC paid family leave. So about 3 minutes for you, and then we'll give y'all the time to start in. Thank you.
Let's everybody give it a round of applause for Mr. Tariq one more time.
Thank you. Hey, brother,
So I want to say thank you for, Hall, J Hall, for connecting us. Connecting good people together. So definitely want to acknowledge that. And also, I'm not a stranger here. I've been getting haircuts here, off and on over the years. Shout out to my boy Sam over there. So one big thing I do want to say about what I've heard is change is the only constant. Mm-hmm. Everything is constantly changing. Our mates are changing, we're changing. So if we're checking in with ourselves first and foremost to see how we can improve what we need, we're doing better for ourselves. Also, if change is the only constant, we want to check in with our mates, our partners, at least monthly. Checking in with them to see hey, what do you need? What can I improve on? How can we be better? And lastly, I'll say is, if you're just being honest with yourself and being transparent about what you want, shout out to Ty in the back. A lot of stuff does move fast in this current age, but a lot of people are lonely. Mm-hmm. They're avoiding a thing that they need to do, and sometimes that instant gratification is a self-defense mechanism. like a defense mechanism. So if we're just being honest about what we need, we can really achieve that happiness that we also want. So I look forward to, creating memories here, much like the gentleman. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, true. So I've been doing this for. I've been doing.
Who are you, man? Who are you? Tell us who you are. We know what you want to do, but tell us who you are.
So I've been in the field for over a decade now, 14 to be exact. 14 to be exact. I spent 10 years in education, worked down the street at C Public Charter School. I've been a life skills counselor. I've been a assistant director of student support services. I've been a social worker. I'm an archery instructor. Like anything that we kind of do to manifest positive memories with men of color, I'm all about that. I've trademarked the phrase beyond June. National Men's Health is June, but we are important beyond the month, gentlemen. Beyond the month. So anything with men's health, that's a passion of mine right there. So I look forward to doing this, and I also have my private practice, Jackson Therapy Group. So if you need services, know somebody that needs services, whether it be couples, groups, individuals, we can certainly provide some services for you. All right, Mr. Lee, Dr. Lee.
Boss has been coming in here for quite a few years.
Yes, sir.
And we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Lee gave me my very first haircut.
Wow.
I'm random. So Mr. Lee's like, hey, go back there. If you need an appointment, you can't keep coming up in here. And that's how he told me to get out of his chair and stop wasting his time in a polite way. So I appreciate you, Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, sir. All right.
Full circle moment. That's what Oprah would say is a full circle moment. Ain't that crazy? Well, welcome back. We are excited to have you and excited to grow. We got one more, Dr. Lee. Can you hold the music? Thank you. All right. We have Michael, correct? Sure. Okay, Michael's going to talk real quick about...
Yeah, thank you.